What happens when a knife designer with experience and training in bladed combat and martial arts decides to take modern metallurgy and knife making techniques and apply it to ancient martial arts designs? Well, you get something like this. Huh, what? That's right. We have two of them coming at us from Shieldon knives. We have the Scythe XL, and from Cavol knives, we have the Mantis. Since we have both here, we might as well compare and decide which is the perfect Pikal. Stick around. What's up, Kripple Krew? EDC with DBD, disabled but deadly. And that's right, we have two wicked rippers to look at, break down, and compare today to see which one I give my recommendation as the perfect Pikal. Before we get into that, make sure that you've stabbed that like button, /subscribe, bash that bell for notifications so you don't miss anything. And also, leave a comment below. Let me know which one of these you like best. So, I'm going to start off with the Shieldon Scythe, which is brought to us by our homies over at DC Blades. And the Shieldon Scythe, this is the XL version, coming in at 7.08 inches with a 2.92 inch wicked hawkbill blade. Rocking S35VN with a DLC and a flat grind. The Cavol Mantis, designed by, if I can get his logo there, Tiguass, comes in at 7 inches overall with a 2.52 inch hawkbill blade of Elmax steel. Now, both knives are rocking titanium scales, which are both take a completely different approach. The Shieldon Scythe XL is a frame lock. In this variant, they do have Shieldon Scythes that have liner locks, but the premium versions with titanium are frame locks. Whereas the Cavol Knives Mantis is a liner lock. Both knives are running on ceramic ball bearings, and both have a flipper tab. The heavier, thicker Shieldon Scythe blade is definitely more drop shutty because of that extra weight. Both flipper tabs work amazing, and I can easily reverse flick the Shieldon Scythe off of that DLC coating. Now, our lengths are very similar, and the weight of the Shieldon Scythe XL is coming in at 3.3 ounces, where we are 3.17 ounces on the Tiguass designed Cavol Knives Mantis. Now, for materials, if we're comparing the handles, the titanium's kind of a wash between the two. The milling pattern that is done to resemble tree bark on this Mantis is amazing. It looks phenomenal. Carries all the way around that backspacer and all the way up the knife, and it feels great in hand. That type of milling is going to add hours and wear down tools, which is going to add to the cost of the Cavol Knives Mantis. The Shieldon Scythe goes in a different direction, and what you get is contoured titanium scales that are smooth but you get a very aggressive gemmed backspacer, titanium backspacer that wraps all the way around. So both are titanium with full titanium backspacers. One is, contoured and aggressive. The other is very milled and I don't want to say aggressive, but it definitely is grippy. So the titanium scales, that's going to come down to a preference. Obviously, this is going to cost more to do, but which one you prefer is going to depend on your style. Blade steels. So we're looking at Elmax versus S35VN. S35VN is going to be a little bit tougher, which is kind of something you're looking for in an application like this with a thin tip, especially as thin as they go with the tip on the Shieldon Scythe. Whereas Elmax is going to hold an edge a little bit longer and be slightly more stainless. Now, that stainless capability or extra stainlessness is nullified by the DLC, which means diamond-like carbon coating on this Shieldon Scythe. That DLC coating is not only very tough and it's going to protect this blade from marks, but it's also highly corrosion resistant, adding to the already stainless capabilities of the S35VN. So you will get a little bit more edge retention out of the Elmax, whereas the S35 will probably be a little easier to sharpen. Not that either one of these is made to be your daily user, that you're going to be sharpening often, but it is a knife that you want it to be very sharp for the time you actually need it. Both knives, I will say, have a plunge grind and sharpening choil that is done really well. You will get a little bit more sharpening life out of the plunge grind and sharpening choil on this Cavol knives Mantis. However, again, we're not talking about a knife you're planning on sharpening very often. Let's see how sharp these blades are. And one of the nice things about a hawkbill blade, and I showed this on my review of the Shieldon Scythe, even though it's hard for me to show under the camera, is that a hawkbill is made to bite into something and just pull it deeper and deeper into that blade. So whether you are cutting rope or clawing into something organic, when that tip bites, it's going to pull deeper and deeper into the blade and just really dig in well. That's what the hawkbill blade is made to do. Now, when it comes to that poking to get in, I will say that the tip on this Shieldon Scythe is one of the finest that I have ever seen. And it's a good thing that they went with a tougher steel like S35VN. They also went with a much thicker blade stock, as you can see. We're looking at only 100 thousandths blade stock on the Cavol Knives Mantis. So actually quite thin compared to our typical EDC thickness. Whereas the Shieldon Knives Scythe XL is 157 thousandths. And with this wedging, it retains a lot of that strength out to the tip. Meaning that even though we do have a fine tip for gripping and ripping, you're less likely to worry about it breaking. I like that they went with a thicker blade stock for something you're going to be, relying on to defend your life. Because that's exactly what these are for. Let's talk about the ergos. Now, a Pikal is made to be used mostly in a Pikal grip. It's made for ripping and slashing. Both of these are comfortable to turn around and go the other way as well. You can hold this in a forward grip, but with the way that this curves, it's not very comfortable. If you needed to use this to do some type of slicing, EDC slicing tasks, you could. You could choke up on there, but that's not what this is for. You could use it to turn around and cut straps. It's not too uncomfortable that way. But again, that's not what this is for, and I wouldn't want to be cutting straps with this thin blade stock. The ergos on the Shieldon Scythe XL are a little more neutral, but that makes them more comfortable. This geared backspacer really helps you lock in on this knife in either reverse grip. And if you were using this in a forward grip, it is much more comfortable with the Shieldon Scythe XL. And the way that this handle is designed and swells as it gets fatter and gets wider as it goes back into your hand, it actually angles that blade so that it's still pointed. It's a lot more comfortable as far as if you had to use it in this grip, even though that's not how it's meant to be used. It's also more comfortable turning it around this way because of the way the ergos are. If you were using this to open packages, you're going to go halfway through the package before the blade stops because of this really sharp tip. But, comfortable in a pinch grip, I guess. So, the designers are both very in tune with self-defense, beef jerky defense, whatever you want to call it. And I believe both of these would do their job very well. When I compare the blades, though, and I start thinking about self-defense, I look at that 100,000th blade stock thickness on the Elmax, and the fact that we are coming out again to a fine tip. And I do feel like I would be more secure trusting my life with the 157,000th blade stock thickness that 157 thousandths of S35VN that I have right here. Also, since this is specifically for one reason and one reason only, I like the fact that they went all out to get the sharpest, pokiest tip they could. And I also like the taller blade design for making larger openings. If I had to choose just based off the blades, one to bet my life on, I'm going with the Shieldon Scythe, just based off of that. Now we look at the lockup. We've got a frame lock that's about 40-45% lockup, and we have a liner lock that's about 45-50% lockup. So it's up to you which you prefer. But in this specific use, I typically prefer liner locks over frame locks because of the action and the fact that I'm less likely to lock my thumb out. Well, on this knife, I'm not worried about using my thumb. And I like the idea that as I squeeze it, I'm squeezing that lock bar tighter. So while I am using this, I'm putting tension on that lock bar the entire time, making it much less likely that the lock could fail while in use. Now, before we get to an actual verdict, I want to compare the price on these two. So, the Cavol Knives Mantis, again, we are using a more expensive blade steel in Elmax, and there's a lot of milling in these scales. And that that does cost time. It takes time. It goes through tools. It costs money. The Cavol Knives Mantis is $328. I found the Shieldon Knives Scythe XL Reverse Tux Edition on White Mountain Knives for $161, which means after code DBD saves you 10%, you're going to get this for $145, meaning you could get two for the price of one Cavol Mantis. Now, the price isn't the only thing that's going to go into my final verdict, but it does definitely factor in heavy when you can buy two for the price of one. One thing I do want to say, both of these do have reversible pocket clips. You can carry them on either side. I prefer to carry this style of knife on my left side in my left rear pocket, which means I leave it set up for right hand carry because that carries properly in my left rear. And I carry it there because that's my non-dominant hand. If I'm in certain situations, there's a high chance that my dominant hand is going to be occupied, and so I throw these on the left side. But with the ambidextrous pocket clips, you can carry it on either side. As you can see, you've got a wire clip on the Mantis, and you have a straight tie clip with a ceramic ball on the Scythe. The Scythe does go in and out of pocket a little bit easier because of that ball on this smooth surface, but you know, it's a wire clip, so it's very easy to get the Mantis in and out of the pocket. When it comes down to that one time I have to use this knife, I want it to be the one that I have more confidence in, the toughness of the blade and the strength of the lock. And so I'm going to have to say that though both of these are very nice knives, my choice would have to be the Shieldon Scythe XL, designed by our homies over at DC Blades, where you could either buy two for the price of one, or you could get one of those and have $160, $180 left over to buy something else, which, you know, goes a long way towards the $225 price of a DC Blade Cito. The perfect 1-2 EDC combination right there for your EDC knife and your SHTF knife, if you know what I'm saying. So that's my thoughts on the two. Again, both are very good knives, but I'm going with the Shieldon Scythe. I want to know which one gets your win, though. Do you own either of these? And which one would you choose if you were choosing? Hope you have a killer day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Stay safe, stay frosty. Most importantly, stay effing deadly.